Welcome to 30 Minute Reviews. I am Adam. Another video game episode. We're going to talk about the Steam Deck a little bit. We're going to talk about Snowtopia, a pretty cool game I played a demo for PC, courtesy of GOG. We'll be talking about that a little bit. But first, let's talk about something cool that may be happening in the near future. Should things go the way I hope they do. Now, I think that, those of you who have listened, you guys have supported over the years. I've released a number of books, and thank you for, supporting them over the years. And we have 2 books coming out this year, The Temple Outside of Time, coming in June. And then the Echo Delta will be coming in November. I'm very excited for these 2 things, but I kind of want to try directing something, and I don't want to finance it on the backs of using a GoFundMe or something, because after a certain point, the amount of investment that you need to put into in just promotional, I don't want to call it shit, but promotional, not necessarily garbage, but nonsense. I'm looking at prices on things for Live Strong bracelets and magnets and things like that, and I think that that could be an option, is to offer things like that. I think it's just better off we could sell the podcast and just do things for the podcast. So I think I'm going to start up a merchandise store with cool stuff like that. We're going to, gauge interest to begin with, and we're going to see how many people are actually interested in buying some of these things that are potentially up for conversation, and if the price points seem interesting. So starting with episodes next week, or not this episode, but episodes following this, I will have a survey put into each episode. Before the episode runs, there'll be a pre-roll ad saying, hey, look, just can you guys just go and fill out this survey on a Google Doc, and if you would buy each of these things at a certain price point. And then if you would, and all shipping would be included. That's the big thing, is that I'm not going to make anyone pay for shipping, is that shipping would be included. But the thing is, all the proceeds from these things would be to go to creating a short that I've written and I've been budgeting out for the last week or so, and I kind of want to see where we end up, and how many people would or would not buy. I'm not sure how international shipping works, therefore I'm going to limit physical content to the United States. And then, as always, if you're outside the United States and you want to support, we do have availability with We do have availability with Amazon stuff. If you go on KDP and all of that, and you pick up any of the books, that does support the show as well. And I'm going to make a nice survey, and we're going to see how many people fill it out. And if we get people to support the show in a more direct sense financially, we can do more cool stuff. So this year, already New York Comic Con is on the itinerary. I'm going to be covering New York Comic Con in person on the show floor. I intend to be there all 4 days, but that'll be something there. We might be doing a live something from the general vicinity of New York Comic Con. Who knows? We're looking into that to see what we can do. We'll be covering, what else is there? EternalCon, whenever we find out when the hell that's happening. EternalCon, definitely on the itinerary for this year. That's out on Long Island. That's something that's definitely on the itinerary. We have a few other conventions, a few other film festivals that are local to the area. So Long Island International Film Expo, I'll be covering New York Film Festival, Tribeca Film Festival, and going into, like, things like that. Because for me, travel's the expense part. Like, if it's local, like, I don't mind driving into the city. If you've listened to Beware of Spoilers, you know that on at least one occasion I've driven into New York City to cover a movie that was released in 30 theaters before getting picked up by Amazon to be to do an original series based on said movie. So I'm not against it. I'm not against going into the city, but going beyond New York City, it's a time commitment and a financial commitment that return on investment is a question. So I think that if we can gauge interest in some of these things with price points that I've worked out, we can see how many people would be interested in buying. And then the thing is, too, as you order more, you get a better sense of, you get a better rate. So, as you bulk buy in higher quantities, you get a better rate. So that would be something that I'd be interested to hear audience response about. So I will be making a Google form at some point in the next 2 days, and that Google form will have the survey, and I will have a link to it to attach to all episodes going forward for incoming new new product lines and things like that. Not gonna do anything extreme or look superbly expensive, but because one-time costs plus shipping and all of that, it's just easier to just do the to just do one-offs and all of that. And I really don't want to do a Patreon, so I don't want to lock content behind a paywall. And even if I did, I wouldn't put the back catalog behind a paywall. So yeah, I just figured I would get that out there so people are aware going forward that we're going to have this little ad before each episode. Please only fill out the survey once. Do not fill out the survey multiple times, because filling out the survey multiple times does not help. Also, I'm debating whether or not, because that's the thing, is there are ads on the podcast, but I don't record the ads. Like, there was a period where I had recorded ads, and that just didn't work out, because the only companies that would, advertise with us were expensive. And it's like, Stardate wanted to advertise, and it's like, yeah, but I looked at their catalog, and it was like, that's fucking expensive stuff. Like, who's gonna pay for all of that? We tried it, but it didn't work out. So I think that using, using this is probably a better way to figure out what the best strategy is going forward, is doing this survey. So, yeah, let's get into the fun for today now that we've gotten all that out of the way. But keep a listen out. It'll be included in every episode description from then on out, where it's like there's your episode description, and there's the survey to take it. And if you haven't taken it before, just take it. And really, it's like there's gonna be questions in there too, like what topics interest you, what do you wish we would talk more about, and things like that, just to get a sense of what people think. So that's going to be an interesting kind of experiment we're going to try. So let's see how that works out. So today's first topic, let's talk about the Steam Deck. I have not gotten a Steam Deck yet. I am not paying $650 for a Steam Deck, and let me tell you why. I think the Steam Deck is an interesting experiment. I don't think the Steam Deck is necessarily something that is going to appeal to the type of person that would want to play high-end games on this. Obviously, what the Steam Deck is intending to do is compete with the Nintendo Switch, where the Nintendo Switch doesn't carry huge third-party titles like GTA 5 and things like that, because the Switch just doesn't have the processing power to handle it. The Steam Deck does. So the Steam Deck runs Elden Ring. The Steam Deck runs Cyberpunk 2077 and all these other games that have come out for PC. The what's it called doesn't. And I've heard you can install Linux on it, or you can install other operating systems on it, making it basically a pretty powerful gaming tablet. But the problem is, I think that if you're a person who is big into PC gaming and is big into playing these games on PC and not playing them on a console, I don't think a Steam Deck is necessarily for you, especially at the price point. Considering the Steam Deck, as I understand it, is not modular. I don't think the Steam Deck is something that, the Steam Deck is necessarily something that helps out, or uses a, you can't adjust it. You can't buy new RAM for it. You can't take it apart and add a new graphics card or anything like that. I think that that's something that's not going to appeal to people, especially as we have these massive shortages of NVIDIA graphics cards, where it's like I go to Best Buy today and I'm looking around and they have these giant signs up, we do not have these graphics cards, the GE whatever. We don't have these in stock, so do not ask. They are online only, and they only are available because of shortages of graphics cards. It's interesting to me that this would happen. I mean, look, it's going to have its audience. It's going to find its audience. It's not going to be there for nobody. But I think that the idea of the Steam Deck is kind of misguided, especially considering that, looking at current games and how they run. If I was someone who wanted to be able to play mobile games play PC games on the go, I was at Best Buy a little while ago, and I was looking around, and Samsung has the Galaxy Book, which is their laptop, and the Galaxy Book has an i7 processor, pretty solid graphics card, and 16 gigabytes of RAM and a full terabyte of storage space. That full terabyte of storage space is more than the highest end storage of the Steam Deck, if I remember correctly. I think the Steam Deck caps out at 252. Which, if you're going to play a game like Elden Ring, which is 100 gigabytes right there, that's going to limit what you can have on your console. It's interesting to see how it plays out and how they function, and what space, if any, this takes on the gaming, in the gaming arena. But the other thing is, I don't think it's going to necessarily cut into the dominance that the Nintendo Switch has for the indie market. I don't think the Nintendo Switch... I think the Nintendo Switch has its dominance of the indie market because of the fact that the Switch doesn't have AAA, third-party games. So because Madden doesn't come out on the Switch, and because you don't have... all of these other, all these other major consoles that, all the major third-party titles coming out, to be I'll play this while I wait for the next first-party game. That's why the indie market has really flourished on the Nintendo Switch, and why I can go on the Nintendo Switch and find all of these interesting indie games that are new and unique. Because, while I'm waiting for, the next, Pokemon game, or while I'm waiting for the next, Super Mario, the next Super Mario game, or the next, Mario Party, or the next third-party game, big first-party game or second-party game to come out, I want something to do on my Switch. So, games like Bug Fables can really find an audience, especially considering Bug Fables is so clearly and beautifully inspired by Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. It is very worth, it's worth the time for an indie developer to develop specifically for that. I don't think the indie developer is going to develop with the Steam Deck in mind, because it doesn't seem like a good use of time. I don't know how much of it is different either. I don't know what the major difference is between, or how it does. I would assume it's just mapping the control scheme onto a control pad, but I don't know anything about how it works in the back end. So to me, it's an interesting experiment. It's an interesting experiment to see where it will end up landing. In the same way that VR is an interesting experiment to see where VR ends up landing and how it ends and how it impacts the games industry as a whole. I don't think that this is going to, take the chunk of the indie market that I think, Valve is really hoping it will. I think that that's kind of a thing. And it's so weird to me. I was thinking about this today, where it's Like, Steam is kind of the predominant thing, and it's like, meanwhile, when Origin launched, and when Epic Game Store launched, and when all these other things launched, it's like, well, what the fuck? Why are all these other companies launching their game stores? It's like, well, Steam is, primarily, like, Valve launched Steam as their game store, and that just became the industry standard, to the point where it's like, if not using Steam ends up being a detriment to your ability to play games. But to say that, like, all of this is kind of a situation where now Epic does theirs, and it's like, well, why is Epic doing that? It's like, well, because, they want to keep the money on the back end, and they want to see if publishers will go with them. It's interesting. I'll keep an eye on the situation and see how it plays out. But I'm not going to go and invest $600. Like, if I'm going to invest that amount of money in a new thing to play games, like, I'm more inclined to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox, because you can also play 4K Blu-rays, because of the fact that it goes onto my TV neatly, and because of the fact that, like, or I'll buy a new laptop. Like, a new laptop would be a much better use of money, I think, because the laptop, I mean, maybe I sound like an old man when I say this, but you can do other things with a laptop besides play games. Like, if I get, like I was looking at the Galaxy Book today for $1,200, which is admittedly double the cost. But as someone who does, editing and all this other stuff that I need a laptop for, writing and all of that, like, having a device that plays PC games when I can just get a high-end PC experience feels like a waste of money to me. It feels like a superfluous piece of technology that, why do I need this? There's nothing about the Steam Deck that really jumps out as necessary. And the other thing is, like, oh, it docks, and it's like, yeah, great. My laptop can dock to my TV too. Like, and it'll dock in 4K, and my laptop will output in 4K to my TV. Like, I don't understand why that's a thing that we're like, oh, look, it docks like the Switch. It's like, okay, cool. And the thing is, too, there are wires sticking out of it, so it looks kind of like it's got a certain look to it. But I don't know. If I'm building a home entertainment system, I don't think the Steam Deck is something that's going to make the cut of something that needs to be in that home entertainment system. In the same way that, like, for me, I think a Retron Cube would probably make more sense, because the Retron Cube, to me at least, feels like a thing that will, lead to more fun and more varied fun, in a way that, like, the Steam, like, there's nothing on the Steam Deck that's Steam Deck exclusive besides the fact that I can pick it up and bring it with me. So if I want to play Elden Ring, I'm using Elden Ring as the example because that's the one that came out this week, and also has a ton of a ton of game, like it's a big third-party AAA game that has a lot of people playing it, and was very vocal about the fact that you can play it on the Steam Deck. It doesn't, strike me as something where I'm going to go and invest a lot of time and money into doing that, because if I was so inclined, I think a better laptop is a better use of money, if that makes sense. I don't think the Steam Deck is necessarily a good use of that money. But more on that later. We'll see the situation as it plays out. Tomorrow we have the Pokemon Direct. We'll see how that plays out. We've been talking a lot about video games lately. I don't know why. All of a sudden, video games have really, piqued my interest. Even more so than, like, movies. I still have to do my review of Legends Arceus. I played Legend. What the fuck happened over... Oh, my brother spilled a soda, and I just... Oh, fucking... It's disgusting. Anyway, I still have to do my review of Legends Arceus. I'm going to do that and beware of spoilers. It's a really fun game, though. If you have a Nintendo Switch and need something to play, it's very fun, very worth your time. Now, let's talk about Snowtopia, which is this game that had a demo on GOG. I picked it up and I wanted to try it out. This game is really fun. Now, I think that if we want to look at if we want to look at this game, I like this game a lot. I played it a little bit. I played the demo. It's pretty fun. Granted, you have to take my opinions with a huge grain of salt, because I am a huge fan. Huge fan of any game that has what's the word I'm looking for here? That is like a tycoon or a simulator game, where it's like you give me a city, I will build the city, I will manage the city, I will have fun in the city, I will do all of that. I love any game like that, and I will play any game like that. It's one of those things where it's just, in like Civilization, love Roller Coaster Tycoon, Theme Park Roller Coaster, all these games like that, especially if they go out of their way to keep the game simple and they explain everything to you pretty quickly and early on in a way that is understandable, so that way the game can have, the game can be fun to play. I think that's kind of a middle ground that needs to be reached. It's that if I am building a game like this, one of the first things I would do is make sure that it is easy to understand. The interface is, easy to use, and it's just, fun. Otherwise, why am I going to play the game? If there's a learning, like, that's the thing. For me, it's all about simplicity. And it's like, at the same time, give me a tutorial, that's fine. I will play a tutorial. Don't make the tutorial too long. Don't make me have to sit through the tutorial. Don't make me feel shitty for not understanding something. Make sure everything's understood, clear, concise, and most importantly, quick. Because I don't want to sit here and have to learn how to play a game I know how to play already. Like, that's one of the things that pisses me off to no end about the various Pokemon games that always come out, is the amount of time spent teaching you the basics of the game. I understand why. I understand that the game is, for all audiences, and they want it to be, it's like a comic book. Everyone can be someone's first, and they want to make it as accessible as possible because they don't want to frustrate young people who are buying the game, who, much like me in my current age, have a very low tolerance for dealing with, this. So, yeah, I completely, totally understand why that is the case. I do not find it entertaining when I have to sit here and explain and have something explained to me for a long period of time, to the point where it'll make me not want to replay a game once I've played it once already. That said, this game doesn't do that. This game gives you everything you need to know. The entire point of the game is you are building a ski resort. You are the owner of this, mountain. You can build a ski resort on it. You got to build like little houses for your maintenance people. You got to build little houses for your snow maintenance people and machine maintenance people and landscaping and grounds crew. You get to set up your layout for your for your ski slopes. You got to build the all the ski lifts to get up to it. It's a very fun game. It's addicting, and I found it very interesting when I played it last night. I played it for like 4 hours, and I was like, this is great. Very much worth your time. I love Snowtopia. I think it is the second indie game I've played in the last few years where I get lost. Like, if you can get me to lose time playing a game, and your game doesn't have Pokemon in the title, or Zelda, because that's another one that I can lose time in and just sit there and just like, oh, holy shit, I've been doing this for 3 hours now and I have other things to do. Like, I could have been sitting here watching a movie or writing something for the Smithtown Chronicle or working on one of my books or any number of other things. It's like, oh shit, I have things to do. But this is so fun that I've completely forgotten about all of that, and I don't feel like I've wasted time having done that. It's a really fine line to walk, but this game does it very well, and that's an important part of what makes this game work so well. It was this and unpacking that did it, and I didn't feel like I was wasting my time doing that. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Snowtopia yet, it's definitely on GOG. I don't know if it's on Steam or not. We should get back into Steam. Steam's a fun one. But yeah, we will wrap up there for today. We'll be back tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning is the Pokemon Direct at 9 a.m., so I'll record something. I don't know how long the Direct actually is going to be physically, so I'll record something after. And then tomorrow and today, we have two Beware of Spoilers that are going to be pretty in-depth and entertaining. and also pretty unique. I have a little memo pad here that I'm going to use for it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to, today, in about an hour, more or less, I'm going to be going to the movies to see, what's it called? All of the animated short films nominated for Best Animated Short this year. Tomorrow at 1:30, I will be seeing all of the live-action shorts that are nominated for Best Short Film. I feel like this can be an interesting kind of thing for me to see this. Last year, I saw only the best animated short. I have not watched Two Distant Strangers yet. Maybe I'll watch that today. While I'm in my car waiting for this movie to start, I'll watch Two Distant Strangers. But I did watch If Anything Happens, I Love You, which was last year's winner for Best Animated Short. That was an emotional, just shotgun blast. It's a great movie. It's a great short though. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. And also this week I'm going to talk about at some point a movie that is turning 120 years old this year. A Trip to the Moon. It's a silent short. It's 16 minutes long. It's on HBO Max. But it turns 120 years old this year. And it is one of the first science fiction movies. We'll talk about that too. So until then, have a great rest of your week.